Very few things are as impressive as the magic of compounding pennies. Amazingly, this force is equally powerful in every area of your life. Here's another example. 3 friends. Let's take 3 buddies who all grew up together. They live in the same neighborhood with very similar sensibilities. Each makes around $50,000 a year. They're all married. They have average health and body weight, plus a little bit of that dreaded marriage flab. Friend number 1, let's call him Larry. Plods along doing as he's always done. He's happy, or so he thinks, but complains occasionally that nothing ever changes. Friend number 2, we'll call Scott. He starts making some small, seemingly inconsequential, positive changes. He begins reading 10 pages of a good book a day and listening to 30 minutes of something instructional or inspirational just on his commute to work. Scott wants to see changes in his life, but doesn't want to make a big fuss over it. He recently read an article with Dr. Mehmet Oz in Success Magazine and chose one idea from the article to start implementing in his life. He's going to cut out 125 calories from his diet every day. No big deal. We're talking about maybe a cup of cereal less, trading a can of soda for a bottle of seltzer, switching from mayo to mustard on a sandwich. All doable. He also started walking a couple extra thousand steps a day, less than a mile. No grand acts of bravery or effort, stuff anyone could do. But Scott is determined to stick with these choices, knowing that even though they're simple, he could also easily be tempted to abandon them. Friend number 3, we'll call Brad. Brad starts making a few poor choices. He recently bought a new big screen TV so he can watch more of his favorite programs. He's been trying out some of those recipes he's seen on the Food Channel, some of those cheesy casseroles and the desserts that are his favorites. Oh, and he installed a bar in his family room and added just 1 alcoholic drink per week to his diet. Nothing crazy. Brad just wants to have a little more fun. So, at the end of 5 months, there are no perceivable differences between Larry, Scott, or Brad. Scott continues to read a little bit every night and listens to audios during his commute. Brad is, quote-unquote, enjoying life and doing less. Larry keeps doing as he's always done. Even though each man has his own pattern of behavior, 5 months isn't long enough to see any real decline or improvement in their situation. In fact, if you charted the weight of the 3 men, you'd see a rounding error of 0. They look exactly equal. At the end of 10 months, and then again 15 months, we can't see any noticeable changes in any of their lives. It's not until we get to the end of the 18th month that the slightest differences are measurable in the appearances of the 3 friends. Even so, there's nothing of any valued consequence that they would recognize differing the 3 of them. But about month 25, we start seeing really measurable, visible differences. At month 27, we see an expansive difference. And by month 31, the change is startling. Brad is now fat while Scott is trim. By simply cutting out 125 calories a day, in just 31 months, Scott has lost 33 pounds. In case you're skeptical or curious, here's the math. 31 months equals 940 days. 940 days times 125 calories a day equals 117,500 calories saved. 117,500 calories saved times 1 pound divided by 3,500 calories equals 33.5 pounds lost. Now, on the other side of the equation, Brad ate only 125 calories more, remember, as small as a bowl of cereal a day in the same time frame, and gained 33.5 pounds. Now he weighs 67 pounds more than Scott, but the differences are more significant than weight. Scott invested almost 1,000 hours in reading good books and listening to self-improvement audios. By putting his newly gained knowledge into practice, he's earned a promotion and a raise. Best of all, his marriage is thriving. Brad? He's unhappy at work, and his marriage is on the rocks. And Larry? Larry is pretty much exactly where he was 2.5 years ago, except now he's a little bit more bitter about it. By the way, let me jump off and talk a little bit more about Larry here. Larry represents the vast majority of people. They aren't climbing new heights and accomplishing great feats, and they aren't in a death spiral downward either. They are in what Tony Robbins called in our January 2009 interview in no man's land. He said, this is a place where you're not really happy, but you're not unhappy enough to do anything about it. That's a dangerous place. It's a place where people numb themselves to their dreams. It's where they dismiss hope and accept what's in front of them instead of driving towards what they really want in life. Don't ever be a Larry. Don't get stuck in the no man's land of complacency and status quo. There's no standing still. You are either green and growing or ripening and rotting. There really is no in between.